Welcome to FYI, the podcast where we have brief career chats with various professionals. My name is Diana Ramirez.
And my name is Sarah Shamasha. We are first-year experience counselors, aka FYE, hint hint to our podcast name. Our vision with this podcast is to share the career journeys of alumni who started at the community college.
We're starting in 3,
2,
1. Welcome to another episode. We are so excited to have you as a listener. Today we have an amazing guest. I'm going to let Sarah start with the intros a little bit.
Yes, our guest today is actually a student in one of our allied health programs. A very popular one, I might add, and it is nursing. Woohoo! As I'm sure a lot of you are very interested in nursing, how to get to nursing, etc. So our guest today is going to tell us about his journey to nursing and as well as just kind of his background. So our guest today is Vincent Ngo. I'm going to have him introduce himself. Welcome, Vincent.
My name is Vincent Ngo, and I am currently a second semester nursing student here at Grossmont College. I've been a student within the Grossmont Community College District since 2021, and I have earned my associate degree in biology in 2023, and I plan to complete my associate's degree in nursing by fall of 2025. Alongside being enrolled here at Grossmont, I'm also currently enrolled at Grand Canyon University, working towards my bachelor's degree in nursing.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. So I met Vincent at one of our events. So I'm learning your story as I kind of go. And I didn't know you went to Grand Canyon. I'm like, what aren't you doing? Like, you have all these kind of amazing things. We just really appreciate you being here. I know when we first started, me and Sarah mentioned that we're so genuinely excited to have a nursing major student here with us, just because it is one of our most popular majors, and it's also very competitive to get into, right? And
yeah.
I don't want to always discourage students. I just want to give them the realistic view of what it takes to be, a nursing major and all of that kind of stuff. So thank you for coming.
Of course. Thanks for having me here.
Yes. And so we're going to do a different little segment. We did our rapid fire questions in our other episodes, but this time I went on ChatGPT and was just like, what are some options that we can kind of do? And I was like, 5 more options. And then finally it got me to this one. So this little segment is called In Your Shoes. So to dive a little bit deeper into your daily routine, just to know you a little bit more on that side. So I'm just going to ask you some more broad questions and, whatever kind of comes of it for your routine and your journey.
Yeah, sure thing.
Awesome. So the first question is, what is the first thing you do after your hygiene when you wake up in the morning? What's something that's important for your morning?
I always try to get something to eat. I know some people don't really do breakfast. I don't either, but I try to have at least a little something. As a nursing student, your days are very long, and sometimes you have your internships that are 12, 13, 14-hour internships, and you might not get even a chance to eat until 6 hours in. So I always try to have myself have a good morning, set the tone early, and be able to make sure that I give myself a good start for the day.
And what time's your start usually? What time do you wake up?
Oh man, if it's 4 classes, it's usually around 7. If I'm doing my clinical internships, I usually wake up around 5.
Oh, 5?
Yeah.
Say that again, 5 o'clock a.m.
Yeah,
or p.m.? No, I'm just kidding.
5 a.m. And then those clinical shifts we report at 6:30 at our site, and sometimes we don't even leave till 7:30 at night.
Wow. So yeah.
I'll be home around 9.
So having a food intake in the morning is very critical, because your day could just kind of come by and it's at the end and you haven't even nourished yourself.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the next question is, what is your go-to productivity hack? Something you do on a regular basis that helps you stay productive.
Yeah, everyone has their own, kind of tendencies on what they like to do. I like to keep mine just really simple, and that's just have a calendar. Right? It doesn't need to be some fancy calendar. I just use Google Calendar. That's what happened. Just why I just happen to use it. And I just keep a list of things that I plan to do in my day. I have my classes at 8 o'clock. I need to complete this paper at this time. Again, it doesn't need to be something super fancy. Just the things that, helps you keep organized. Because as a nurse, you do have to juggle multiple things at once. So having like just like a simple to-do list is just great to have.
So every morning, do you look at that in the morning and
Yeah,
kind of see what your
I
day
review
is?
what's on my calendar. I was like, okay, I need to prepare for this, and I'm also looking a couple days ahead and a week ahead to make sure that I'm pacing myself. I don't want to do all my work in one day, and I want to be able to make sure that I have time for myself as well.
Nice. And we're going to get into your chunk of the day and what kind
Yeah.
of goes throughout the podcast. But just to kind of go to the end of the day after your long shifts, what's something that you do to wind down your day?
What do I do to wind down my day? I really find comfort in food. I'm a big foodie. So I always like to have like a really nice dinner, treat myself to something really nice, or I sometimes make food at home. I'll cook with my family, or I just really spend time talking to people, talking to my loved ones, and my friends, just to really just settle down. Don't talk about work, homework, school, just something chill, and just end the day with something nice on a good note.
I love that. That's really awesome. So you're focusing on what you need to do kind of towards the beginning of the day, and then you're kind of doing your school. And at the end of the day, you're reconnecting with your loved ones and just enjoying something that's amazing. I love that. I actually have a lot of questions. I'm so curious about so many things, but I would say let's just kind of go to the next segment that we have, which is the question that we ask all of our guests. I want to hear that, and then I kind of want to ask all of the questions I'm very curious about.
Yeah, that sounds good.
The question typically is what is the word that would describe your career journey? And you can give us some insight as to why you chose the word.
Yeah. As for my career journey, it's a lot. I've dipped my toes in quite a few different areas, and if I have to use a word to distill it, it would be adaptation. I think it's natural for all of us to have some sort of idealized vision of what we want in life, right? And I always encourage others to dream big and to always pursue whatever you're passionate about. But however, life is full of change, and our expectations inevitably shift over time. So I know even now I know my life and my career goals will look completely different a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And while it's important to plan and keep your goals in sight, I think it's just equally as important to be adaptable and flexible so you continue to feel fulfilled along the way. I always keep the phrase in mind that it's not about the destination, it's about the journey along the way. And that especially holds true in nursing, because we as nurses, we set goals for ourselves and for a patient, but it's important to be able to modify that plan, to be able to adapt on the spot, and to basically kind of gauge what's the situation.
Right. I love that.
Yeah.
Were you always wanting to be in nursing?
No, actually. I'd never thought I'd end up in nursing. Both my parents are nurses, and despite their efforts to sway me into their tribe,
right. Come to the side.
I know, but the profession never really spoke out to me. Despite I've been I've been in hospitals ever since I was a kid. I've visited family members, but the medical and the whole healthcare side just never spoke to me. And that's why I said about adaptation is that things change, right? You don't know. I actually originally planned to pursue a career in music, and I wanted to pursue music in college and make a career out of it. I was a classically trained violinist for about 10 years, and I was accepted at UC Santa Barbara right after high school to go study music theory and music composition. However, I decided not to pursue music. I didn't feel like the path was right for me. There's a lot of things in music that just didn't connect with my own personal values or how I wanted to live my life. So I just ended up questioning my choice. I didn't feel fulfilled by it. And music will always hold a special place in my heart. I'm also a really big music listener. I listen to a lot of different genres, from classical to pop to alternative. But I knew it just wasn't my calling. So I decided to change my path last minute, and I enrolled in community college here at Grossmont and Koimaka. So I chose pre-nursing, which is the designation before you enter nursing school, as kind of my backup plan, that's in quotes, and I take the classes and, do the things. So they're like, oh yeah, I'll settle for this, right? I did have a bit of interest in healthcare because during the COVID pandemic, I did do a lot of volunteering. I did a lot of volunteering when it came to like doing the swabs for testing or helping people doing the vaccinations. You remember all that, right?
Feels like a dream. Yeah.
It's just something, to pass
Right.
the time. I was really bored during that time.
Yeah.
But I was also exposed to a lot of people who worked in the healthcare professions. Not, of course, my parents, but also a lot of family, friends, and coworkers. Right. Began to notice that nurses carried themselves in a different way, not in a way that's like superior or different as I'm going to say. Right. Nursing is a really intense profession, and I've seen how life as a nurse shapes and molds a person. I've witnessed firsthand how the resilience and wisdom and the emotional intelligence that define nurses was just so awe-inspiring. And I'm actually especially inspired by their capacity to set aside their own personal beliefs to prioritize the needs of others. I thought that was just so fascinating to me that's a trait within a person they can just do intrinsically. This drew me in, right? So I was decided to give nursing a try. I often hear stories in healthcare that people being inspired to pursue whatever they're wanting to pursue in healthcare because maybe they had a family or friend afflicted by some illness, or maybe they witnessed healthcare heroes, right? The latter being my personal example. And while those are powerful motivators, seeing the dedication of nurses was something that sparked my own interest. But sustaining that interest is different, and that story isn't told as often. Initial motivation gets that engine running, kind of how like I see my parents, I see others, I volunteered, but that driving force is the connection to keep that interest sustaining. So I know that kind of sounds a little cryptic. Let me describe what I mean. For me, this realization came actually a couple months ago. I was in the middle of a hospital clinical rotation, and I was assigned to a patient with pancreatic cancer. Now, I don't know if you know anything about pancreatic cancer. It's a really tough diagnosis with not the best outcome. So this patient has actually been additionally labeled as irritable and uncooperative by the care team, right? So I was getting this assignment, and I'm being told that this patient is this way. They're kind of giving me like weird looks. I'm like, good luck, Vincent. So I'm like, okay, this patient, I knew I was going to be with him for 12 hours. Let me talk to this patient. Let me see what's going on with him, right? Let me see what am I seeing from my own lens. So a good nurse knows that to conduct a comprehensive assessment whenever they're meeting anyone for the first time, right? They're assessing their physical, their mental, their whole psychosocial state. They're striking a conversation to see what are the patient's goals and needs. So during my assessment, I struck up a conversation and I began to understand where the source of this patient's frustration. And I wanted to provide an environment where empathy and a calm presence, and made sure that he felt comfortable sharing his concerns with me. Basic nursing 101. And it really struck me because I explored his goals with him, and he revealed that he had less than a year to live, and he wanted to spend the rest of his life on his own terms. And although this patient was a character while being hospitalized, and he definitely held some strong beliefs that conflicted with most people, I could see that there was a human behind what's behind behind the chart, right? Behind what's being presented to me, and I knew that he just needed people in his life that he needed support from. So I did my part to be someone he could count on, and that I could advocate for him. I encouraged him to go along with medical treatment. All right, we're gonna do this medications, we're gonna do this procedures. I know you want to get out of here. Please work with me. We're gonna make sure you're taken care of, and then you can go live out your life. So the moment that really stuck with me was during the end of my shift. He went off to the surgical ward maybe a few hours prior, and then came back, right? I was about to clock out, and he came back, so I decided to check in with him one last time. When I went into the room and he first saw me, I could see that he was visibly relaxed seeing me. This whole time, he was like on stress. He was so stressful, on edge, very, I don't want to say combative, but very like vocally just uncooperative people.
Like agitated.
Very agitated, right? But when he saw me and saw I got to see all the work I did with him for 11 hours, and that he was able to look at me, and he just felt a sense of calmness and that saying that he could rely on me. And I left that day feeling that I really truly made a difference, right? It was the day I felt like an effective nurse, and that experience solidified that gut feeling that I'm in the right place. So all of this is to say that we all have motivations that drive us to go pursue something, right? But what often people don't fail to show is that motivators come after when you're doing something as well, right? I never wanted to be a nurse, but after being in that position where someone's life is in my hands, someone's whole trust is in my hands, and that I got to be a part of something that could help foster, help improve someone's life, was deeply empowering.
Yeah, I think I love the word that you said, sustained, because there will be difficult times, right? Maybe you won't have that connection with a different client as much, but those moments that you do get is the ones that do sustain you. It's funny that you're saying that, because me and Sarah were talking last week about even like our roles as teaching and trying to engage students in our class, and trying to understand that piece of like, we care and we love for our job, but sometimes it can be difficult. So what are those moments to help keep sustained, and all of that kind of stuff. And then I think over the weekend I was like, okay, I need to like change things up, and then I won't put my class on blast, so I'm not gonna say too many things about what's kind of going on, but we had some difficult things that we were working on. And then I think the long weekend kind of helped a little bit. I send them a very encouraging message, and then on today we had a conversation, and I think it went so well. So for me, that was that sustaining moment. Like, okay, it can be frustrating, not every day is gonna be this wow beautiful connection, but those moments really stick with you. And I love that you said that, the sustaining kind of piece of
and
it.
the reality is that everyone's not going to connect with everyone, right? But you just got to take your wins as they come, right? That one moment where it just it resonates with you, that sense of pride and accomplishment that I did something for someone else. I think you just hone in on that feeling and help you get through the finish line.
Thank you. I appreciate you both sharing that, because it does hit deep. And I think just generally, when we impact others, that gives us so much like sense of purpose, and just kind of, we're doing something for our community, because ultimately we're relational human beings and we connect with one another. So I really appreciate that you brought that aspect to it, because I think a lot of the times, maybe sometimes people look at nurses and maybe look at the money and whatnot, and they'll like focus on that of like, I want to work in the healthcare field, but not at the very intricate part of like, you're impacting a lot of people and you're impacting them positively, and you could do so many amazing things. So I really love that you're bringing that kind of everybody's lenses of like, that's the most important thing. I am curious though, because I feel like a lot of our students that are probably listening are at that start of that journey. And sometimes like maybe they struggle with the pathway of like what they should do, or potentially the classes, etc. Do you have anything that kind of helped you in your pathway? What was your experience like taking all of those sciences? Anything you want to share that would be helpful for our students that are listening?
Yeah, for sure. I would say if you have the opportunity to get some kind of job in healthcare or some kind of volunteering, expose yourself to working in a hospital, working in a clinic, working in a job or specific capacity that you can help others, right? That may look different for everyone, but for me, I work in a hospital currently as a telemetry technician, and every day I know I'm helping someone, whether it's the nurses or doctors I work alongside with, or maybe it's the patients I keep safe, right? So I recommend that students get some kind of job or some kind of volunteering, whatever you can get, to make sure that you see, find those high moments, right? Because school is great. I'm a big school person, but having that human connection with others is so empowering, and it will get you through the finish line.
For those that don't know what telemetry is, can you tell us a little bit as to what is it that you do? What does that mean? And how is that kind of related to nursing a little bit, I guess?
Yeah, so telemetry is a little bit of a niche field. When you think about nursing or think about any jobs that before you go to nursing, probably what most come to mind is a certified nursing assistant or a medical assistant, right? CNA, MA, right? Those doing bulk of patient care. Telemetry, being a telemetry technician, you don't really do much patient care. It's not very patient-centered, but it's a lot team centered. We are a ancillary department within the hospital, and what we do is that we monitor the patient's heart rhythm in real time for for a 12-hour shift, right, for half a day. And what we do is we take that load off nurses and doctors. So instead of them having to watch the monitor, we're the ones watching it, and we are notifying to see and identifying early signs of anything bad that's going on. Right.
Is it within the heart or like within
it's just the heart. Yeah.
The heart,
yeah.
okay.
You may have seen if you've been to a hospital, you might have seen these little stickies that they put on your chest, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's measuring the heart rhythm, right? Okay, and it has a very specific characteristic, and if there's anything off of it, that's a warning sign to us that we need to do something early, right?
And related to your journey as nursing. So why did you, like you said, there's CNA, there's other pathways. Why did you choose this specific one?
I actually had a family friend that actually just graduated from Grossmont Nursing, and she recommended that I look into being a telemetry tech. And it's something that really spoke out to me more than being a CNA would, in that it's a lot more intricate. It's a lot more, I don't know what's the word for it, but it's a lot more involved. Right, in the sense that that your work also, you're helping a lot of the team, right? And I see every day nurses thanking us for helping us keep their patients safe, because they're the ones with the licenses, and we're helping them protect their license as well as protecting our patient, right? We want to be able to make sure that their patient, there's nothing that could extend their hospital stay, and that they make sure that they're safe and they can go home as soon as they're possible to their families.
I can't remember if you said this off the podcast or in the podcast, because we were speaking a little with our guests before we started recording, but you also mentioned that you're going to Grand Canyon University to finish your bachelor's.
Yeah.
I guess maybe my last question is, how do you do it all? You're working in telemetry, you're doing your nursing, your ADN, and you're getting a bachelor's in nursing all at the same time.
Yeah, it's a lot. Nursing is a very intense major, profession, lifestyle. I think the biggest takeaway is having a strong support system, right? And for many, that comes in the form of having family, friends, loved ones, right? But also it just extends out into your community as well. If you have any community associations you're a part of, and even here at school, you guys do a great job with FYE. And having that kind of sense of building that sense of community, because I wish I had something like the FYE when I started college. I also tutor, right, over at Koyamaka, and I hope that's one of my goals as being a tutor, is help students sustain and maintain their drive, right? Is building that sense of community, encouragement, and fostering that and motivation to continue forward. Because when you have someone to tell you, you can do this, you will do this, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like you're not on your own. So even just being involved and having those connections and that support is very important than just kind of taking everything off on your own.
So as I was thinking, I was like, I have this question, I have that question. But what I'm thinking is because nursing is such a popular major, I feel like we just can't do with one episode. So if you're willing and our audience leaves comments that they want you back, maybe we can dive into other aspects of things, just because I feel like we had such a strong conversation about things that are sometimes I don't even hear about as well. And so then maybe the next time we can dive into
and maybe even bring some student friends, because nursing is
That's what I was thinking. We are on
a Q&A panel.
What if we have a little group of not just a story?
Whenever we have new students matriculating to Grossmont program, we actually have a panel of students from the later semesters, second, third, fourth semesters, help tell their experience of being a nursing student. Because nursing, when I'm just here telling my story, it's a very narrow facet of nursing, but nursing is such a wide and prominent profession in our society. You'll find nurses anywhere, schools, hospitals, anywhere, right?
Yeah. I love that. Maybe we'll do that. So if we get 10 hearts, 10 hearts, that's all we need. We'll come back. So we just want to end and give you kind of the mic. Is there anything that you feel you want to share about your story, or anything that you feel like, And I know you're a part of the club, right? Like the nursing club. So anything that you want to share with that or anything like that, would just want to leave
that
it
club
for
is
you
the
to kind of
California
close those off
Nursing Student Association, CNSA. It's a national club, but we're a Grossmont chapter of it. And our thing is just community outreach and student support, kind of like whatever you guys do here, right? That we help, we do peer mentoring, we have events, we bring guest speakers, right? If I had to give a piece of advice is to put yourself out there. You know, one of my also favorite sayings is that teamwork makes the dream work. I hear that in the hospital quite a bit. I think that students that connect with each other, that are, we're social creatures, right? We thrive when we're part of a group. So I encourage students to put themselves out there, and I don't like the word network, but network a little bit, right? You'll find like-minded people out there who can support each other's ambitions and, make it to the end.
Yeah, making those connections. And I heard that you don't have to be like in the nursing program to do that. So that's an amazing way to like get insight for people
we
that
actually
are in
have quite a
different
bit
tracks
of
and
pre-nursing
different paths
students
from that.
even in the nursing program that come to our club meetings to just see what we're all about. And we bring in fantastic guest speakers. We have people from all aspects of the nursing profession talk about what they do and what their experience was like.
Yeah, so if you see a lot of students saying Sarah and Diana, send them over, you know why.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Sarah, anything you want to close us off with?
No.
Bye.
See you later.
Bye.
This has been the FYI podcast with the concerts of Grossmont College, brought to you by Zaravan Ali from Griffin Radio.